we're gonna have Zen Talk with Elis Mejia. Elis, thank you so much for coming. So Elis, thank you. We've met each other for about 6 years ago. It's crazy. And I've seen you change so much, but also grow so I'm super grateful to have you on the channel today. We're gonna dive deep, enjoy, and relax. This is a conversation. Feel like we're just taking coffee together. So yeah, brief introduction for the people who don't know who Elis is. So I met her at the university. We both studied at the same university. I've seen that you were in communications or advertisement in a way, but also you were really and
both
you were
communications and advertising. Yeah.
Communication. You were really involved with the musician, a booking manager for a lot of musicians here in Quito, Ecuador, in a wonderful place called the Museum of Rock, 1985.
It was commonly known as Museo del Rock Ecuatoriano. Random fact, they named it by the year that the national anthem was written on.
It was a wonderful place. It's like literally you entered, you were outside and you didn't hear it. You opened the door and you were like in a music dimension. So that was crazy. So you were a booking manager. You did a lot of events. You represented a lot of bands here in Ecuador. And at the same time, then you did a transition to more brand strategies. You've created a dream planner. So tell us a little bit of your story on your perspective, until the fact right now that you're a mother, you're a wife, and you're living right now in Ecuador, but also in the States. So tell us about that story.
Sure. Well, when I graduated high school, I didn't know, I was not sure like what I wanted to do. And I kind of had an idea. I knew that I really liked the music business, the whole even production thing. So I was like, I'm gonna try how this is going. I took like a 6 months off because I was busting myself working, but to like start to know if that was what I actually wanted to do. So I got some internships and stuff like that in record labels. Then I got super like sure that I wanted to do like the communications part, the public relations, and yeah, that's how I started. I got into the university. I never stopped working since I was 17. And at first, I always loved it. I loved all the cultural part, all the culture like richness that you can find here, especially in music. I was my whole life super close to music. So yeah, I started like managing bands, then like booking and stuff like that. And of course, the pandemic hit, and all of that like had to stop. Basically, I was at my house thinking like, what am I gonna do now? And I was heartbroken, not only for me, but also for my colleagues, you know, because at a certain point, I was able to find other things to do. My industry, let's say, when you do communications, you can switch industry super easy. I started like developing my personal brand because I was like, okay, now I can't do the music part, but how can I contribute not only for the music, but for other industries with all my knowledge, basically. I started like launching my new services, now booking one-on-one sessions. My first clients were artists because of course they knew my organization skills, like they wanted to get ready because actually as they had to stop making music, it was so important for them to like start having like strong structure in other ways. You manage your project, how you partner with brands and stuff like that. So that's what they want. Oh, and actually also I help a lot for them to get sponsors and stuff like that, so they can like keep making music but make money from the sponsorships that they were getting. So I was like, yeah, I love this. Like I love my one-on-one sessions. I think that's the service that has been there for a long time and it's gonna keep being there. And because I love to teach, I don't know, like I just love to share my knowledge and I don't like to keep things to myself. Everything grows when we share knowledge with the people that surround us, right? And that's also how I started like growing my personal brand, because I started sharing what I knew and people started like trusting even more their brands and their project. And that's how I started turning from music to like regular brand. After, well, like a few years ago, here comes the personal part. I decided to do a trip. I was in a point that I like emotionally, I don't know where I was in that moment. And I decided like just take a trip to myself. Some people like to call it growth trips or expansion trips. And it was like a trip just to basically think about everything that I was doing and in different ways, like my studies, my work, my relationships. And turns out that in this trip, I met who now is my husband.
Wow.
And I started like well, not in that moment, but a few months later, and after a couple times of seeing each other, we started a couple trips of seeing each other. We started a long distance relationship, and actually that helped me to create another business. So
Wow.
basically, as I was traveling a lot, I was doing what a lot of people do now, that, oh, I'm gonna go to the States, send your packages to my address, and I'll bring it back. So I started like that. I started to get a lot of customers like that, and a lot of people would ask me like, hey, when are you going? Because I was going to the States back and forth to Miami every 2 to 3 months. So people would be asking me like, hey, are you going anytime soon? And I had like clients, and it was crazy. Like, I don't know how. I swear what I did was the carry-on, I would stuff it with things. That carry-on would be heavier than the actual luggage that goes through, like, that you send it. And oh my God, yeah, that was like crazy, you know, like I would get a big load of packages and stuff like that, and I would bring it to Ecuador. At first, of course, basically my house was the distribution center, so people would have to come pick stuff at my house. I would give it to them and stuff. That's how I built that new business, because when some things happened. I got pregnant, we got married, and more personal stuff. But after a lot of things, we had to decide to come for some time here, right? Like we had to come here to Ecuador. So I started like to partner with other people over there, and that's how I created my now courier business that brings packages twice a week, every week for the whole year.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's so good. Like it's you know, when you have when your business has a structure, it's first easier to manage because you start like building a team also, and like every person has their responsibility. So it's easier to manage because you have hands that help you out. At first it was me like packing, waiting, and all that stuff. And now I have a team that does that, you know. I just manage basically the customer relationship.
How big is your team?
Packages. What?
How big is your team?
Well, we have 2 people in Miami, 6 people in total. But it's not just that, you know, because there are a lot of logistics on that. So there's people that, even though they are not on my team, they are they load up the stuff in planes and stuff, or the people at the aduanas here in Ecuador. So it's a crazy chain. And now, even though it sounds bigger and crazier, it's like way more relieving for me than having to, pack this. What if they stop me when I get into the country and they like see, I don't know, that I have 2 laptops, 2 phones, like I don't want to get in trouble, you know. Now it's like all legally, like you're sending, like we're sending this is like a whole list. So yeah, basically that personal situation helped me to like create a new business, and right now I'm basically managing 3 companies. The first one is the one I just talked about. The second one is my personal brand. And I have a business partner. We created an agency together. And yeah, basically on November of last year, a friend from when we were teenagers just texted me and said like, hey, can we get a meeting? And I'm like, sure. At first it was like shocking, like, wow, after so many years. Like I met her when I was like 14, I think. And now I'm 23. So that's almost like 10 years ago.
10 years.
So she texts me and she tells me like, I've been seeing that you are doing things that I'm also doing, and I just want to know if you partner and if you want to create an agency with me. And at first it was like, it's crazy because last year too, like I was thinking like, I hope that very soon I create my own agency. Because, you know, I have worked freelance for other agencies. I've worked freelance for other clients. And I don't know, it's like not every, but a lot of us that do communications and advertising, we want to create our own thing and manage our own clients, have our own rules. Also because the advertising industry is very harsh on like how they treat their employees, like they make you overwork for over hours, and that's what we know that we don't want that. The third company that I'm managing, right now we have like 6 months in the market, and we already have had like up to 10 clients in just this few months, which is crazy because when we just started the agency, we already got our client in the first 15 days.
There we go.
Yeah, and then in the first month we got like 3 more. So yeah, it has been a journey, and no, I've been enjoying it so much. It's like very nice to be able to take what you didn't like from other places already worked at, make it better, and now create jobs. I think that's one of the most important things when you are an entrepreneur. Like, not only, of course, when you start, it's just you know, but like you got to start like that, and you got to know how to manage everything properly. But then like the goal is to create jobs for others, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, that's like a little update with everything.
Love it. Wow. It just blew my mind because I didn't know, like I knew a little bit, but I didn't know the whole story. Thank you so much for sharing, learning that story. It's super inspiring to hear you. So I have a few questions based on your story that crosses all the disciplines that you went through. The first of all is structure, because you said people have come to you because of structure. What do you define as structure, and how would you structure your business in an overall perspective? Meaning, you structure your courier business, your brand, and the agency in a similar way, or is it totally different?
Oh, it's totally different. Like, well, there's like some bases that you have to have first before you even start. Part of that is, let's say, brand strategy, right? But the way you manage like every different business on different industries, because at the end, it's all on different industries, right? It has to be different because you're not talking to the same people, you're not working with the same people either. So I would define structure as like a basis that works for you, being able to manage easily and fluidly your company, while other people and to that structure other people has to get accustomed to. And not only that, it has to fit with them, you know? Because if you have like this people that does not like match your goals, the way you want to work. For example, in the agency, we have people in the agency, it's 100% remote job. Let's say with our designer, he works remotely 100%. Yeah, we have had some applicants for internships that, since they come from city and stuff like that, they want more like a presence work, you know, like they have to show up, they want that. So we gotta tell them like, this is not the agency because we work remotely, we all remote. If that doesn't match with the person that wants to get in, we gotta be like, first super like honest, and then if we accept them, first they're gonna be at a place that they don't want to be, and second, we're gonna have people that are on a place they don't want to be, and that affects the whole company work.
You were telling me that you were looking for the right people to fit your company. You are not
exactly,
trying
that's
to
part of the structure.
You're not trying to adapt the company to the people, but the people to the company.
Exactly, like you have to be super, and not only for the people that works for you, also for your clients. You know, you cannot change your company in order to be likable for a certain kind of client that you really don't want to, you know? That's part of the structure, like really knowing who you are, where you're going, what your goals are, and what your services are. So there's a lot of things that like become part of structure, and that's why I created the Dream Planner, which is a planner that helps you build your brand from scratch. Because at first you have to really know what matters to you, what's important for you as a company, how you put like your personal how can I say, like, yeah, your personal interest into the company. Because now more than ever, the people or the values that are behind a company makes part of the decision when someone gives you their money. You know, for example, there are some companies that, let's say, they don't really have like an impact in the world or something like that, and if you compare one company of those with one that cares about, like, I don't know, women, kids, fair trade, stuff like that, now people that is more aware of those things is going to choose the company that actually cares, not the only one, not the other that only cares about making money. you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, like that has to be part of the structure, and that's something that has to be done even before you create the brand like itself. Like before you launch the brand, you have to know who you are. You have to know what matters to you, and like how you're gonna like create an impact to the world, you know?
Love that. I really want to get back to that question, who are you and how to build your brand towards the end. But I want to go back a little bit of what you did to know yourself. You told us that you did a powerful transformational journey. I just went to a trip also that changed my life. And I know trips are really, really powerful, but I want to go into the specifics. Looking back, what do you see are things that you did that led you to this transformation in the trip? Meaning, what would you recommend a person to do if they want to do a trip of self-discovery?
Okay, first, I would say creating an actual closure, because if not, the problem is going to travel with you. You know, whatever you're going on, it's going to go with you, basically. And in my personal like experience, I was not in a good relationship at that moment, and when I left, I didn't make a proper closure to it. I wanted to like keep, I don't know, like I already wanted to finish that relationship, but I was not able to. Like I can say I was a little coward in that sense. That was a relationship that made me basically walk on eggshells. Okay, so I didn't make a proper closure to it, and at the end I had to make one of the worst closures that you can take, that it's through a phone, you know?
Oh, okay.
So I didn't want it to do that. Like literally I was like, okay, I came here for different reasons, proper closure in person, but the person that I was with in that moment was like, no, tell me now where we are, where we're going. And I'm like, sorry, like I didn't want to do this. And which is crazy, because if that person waited for me to go all the way there, well, to come back to make a proper closure, I would have never met my husband.
You never miss. That's what one of my mentors tells me. Love this. You told me about overworking or getting burned out. You have 3 businesses, 3 companies. What do you do to prevent yourself from burning out? And what other advice you tell them about how can you get results without getting burned out?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a tough question, because I've been like in some moments of my life, literally I got sick. I had to go to surgery because I would like overwork so much that I wouldn't eat properly, and that would damage one of my organs, and they had to remove that organ from me. Wow. Because of because of the stress, and second of all, because I was like so into like, oh, I have this meeting, I have to go this, blah blah blah. So what can I eat? A McDonald's burger on the way while I drive. That was my whole meal through the whole day. You know, wow. At first I had to go through that. First, let's say thing that warned me about that was my body. You know, and there's where I started making some switches. Then I had also a mentor that told me like resting is as important as working, because when you rest, you basically are able to be more creative. If you're like working all the time, like your brain's gonna burn, and you're not gonna have those experiences that are gonna build for you in order to create more things, more service, and understand people even more. It's just you and your laptop.
Exactly.
So I started resting. There's where I decided to take this trip. Also, meeting my husband was a part of it, because I decided to take some time off, or not off, but like not work as hard, because I was working now on building a relationship. You know, so if I knew that, let's say, as I had a long distance relationship, I had to make the most of it, of every moment that I was with him. No, we're going on vacation, and I'm not going to touch my phone, because I know that in a month from now, I'm not going to be able to see him 2 or 3 months. So that's also something that helped me to build that up. And now that I'm a mom, and now that I manage 3 different companies, sometimes it could be kind of hard, you know, because there are things to do. But I would say there are some like organization techniques that everyone can apply, and I can like describe some. First, I created a planner so you can understand that I'm super I love organization. Like I love to be to know what I have to do, check like the boxes, you know, that's what I love. Like have a to-do list, tick the boxes, and basically what I do is create a list of everything that I have to do in the day, but I try to like not make a list like more than 6 tasks. Like, and actually there's a method, like a scientific method for that, you know, like that tells you don't make more than things during the whole day. So prioritize whatever you really, okay? Sometimes that's hard, you know, because things happen, you know, things happen. But then I'm like, other thing that helps me out is like being able to have a team. You know, people to rely on. My business partners sometimes, like, for example, like 3 weeks ago, everyone in my house, we got COVID. And now one thing is to get COVID. Another thing is having a baby that has COVID and you are also being sick. You know, that's one of the toughest things that I've gone through in a whole year of being a mom.
Wow.
So because like literally my baby, the first day she got COVID, she would not sleep for 24 hours and she was crying the 24 hours.
Okay.
And that wasn't a month, you know, like, and I had to get stuff done, you know. Of course, if you have a team and like your partner, of course, my partner, like my business partner, she understood and she told me like, don't worry, like I got it. And sometimes, let's say, recently she went on a trip and I told her like, don't worry, I got this, you know, like you have to be with people that you can rely on. Like your team has to be people that you can rely on. That's also part of it. And knowing which places you give to what. There are some times, like, for example, people tell me like, hey, can we have a meeting at 6 p.m.? No, I'm sorry. At 6 p.m., I put my baby to bed. That's my time with her. And I put my baby to bed at 6 p.m. Let's say we bathe her and all the routine, you know. Let's say it's just like up to an hour and a half. So at 7:30, I can have my space and my time for and with my husband, you know, because that's it too. Like knowing that, okay, I'm waking up at 7 a.m. My first 2 hours, I'm with my baby 100% of the time. Then I to work up to like 6 p.m. where I'm with my baby again, and then with my husband. And on weekends, like for me, now that I'm a mom, weekends are so important. When back then, I didn't care about weekends. If I wanted to work on weekends, I would. And I can, you know, if I want, I can. But I appreciate that time way more. And actually, yesterday, I had to work because I had to get something done that was very important. And today, we were supposed to host a barbecue in our house. And I told my husband, like, let's switch it for the next week because I need at least 1 day to rest, you know? And, well, yesterday we had, like, I had to work in the morning. Then we went to a kid's birthday party. Then we went restaurant hopping with my husband. And I need one day to rest, as you know, and to be with family and do whatever we want, but on a chill way, you know? And I told my husband, like, he even asked me, like, what do you have to do today? And I'm like, I just have this interview and then we can do whatever we want.
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm definitely going to need a part 2 for relationships with you.
Down.
But yeah, just to summarize what we talked about, we talked structure. So you need to structure everything for it to work. If there's no structure, if there are no boundaries, things won't work as well. Before that, you have to know who you are, and you can do trips. You have to do closures before going into trips. The importance of rest, the importance of listening to your body, of taking the time to rest, because rest is actually productive. You don't have to over rest and you don't have to overwork as well.
Taking care of yourself is being productive, and it's like part of how you create a manager, you know? Exactly.
People, you have to check out The Dream Planner by Elis. It's a super amazing book. I have to get my own dream planner because I'm going to get it. I promise you that. I'm putting it on live video. And besides that, everyone should have them, because if you organize your life, you're going to be able to achieve more. Plus the rest, plus knowing yourself. So knowing yourself, what would you say to someone who, or a person who wants to build their brand, to know themselves? What questions do they need to ask themselves to really recognize who they are, what they stand for, and how to be in the world?
Oof, there are so many questions. Like literally on the Dream Planner, we have up to 50 questions.
Wow.
Of this. It's crazy, you know? Because it's not only about you, it's also about like who is your ideal client, what kind of service you want to make, how you can improve your product, how can you make your product better, you know? Through like into yourself. One of the most important things of every brand in every business is knowing what their purpose is. And it's like so cliche, like everyone tells you like find your purpose, and like, you know, sometimes people tell me like, hey, I don't even know what my personal purpose is, like how am I gonna know my brand? And it goes like it has to be aligned, you know? So you have to go deep in yourself to ask like, what impact do I want to create in the world? Who I want to help? What solutions can I provide that make someone else's life easier, you know? And not only that, like through my content, through my service, who am I gonna contribute to? Yeah, because one thing is having a client and giving them a solution, and another thing is, right, there are so many ways you can help, right? With your business, you can like determine like, hey, I want to give 10% of my income to literally saving the whale. You know, that's also part of how you create like your brand, and like what do you care about, you know? Mm-hmm. And something that I find crazy is that you can like make everything like get together. You can mix your passions with what you're good at and create an amazing service or business. And thinking that the most important thing is always the service you provide, like how you can help someone else. That's for me one of the most important. I'm not only like selling planners because of, I don't know, because I want to, right? Or it's not that when I created the dream planner, let's say, that I said like, oh, I want to make money with this. No, the money comes after. Like if you're doing great, if you're doing a great job, the money's gonna come. You don't have to worry about that. The most important thing is like, what are the proper questions for people to make themselves find their truth? How can I help them to make those proper questions? And not only that, but create wealth, create other jobs, create businesses. That's the important thing. Why? Because I remember myself from 17 years old didn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal. Like, how can I help a person that has no idea where to start? You know, exactly. That's what matters.
And if you tie it down, is you are answering the questions that you had when you were 17.
Exactly.
Now, so it's this. I had a quote that in Latin says, "Nosce te ipsum." That means know yourself. You don't really have to look outside for problems or solutions. You can just look inside and say, just, okay, what do I need? And what would I love to be helped at? And you can help others based on that. So wonderful. The questions again is, how can I help? What impact can I leave in the world? Guys, please take notes. How can I contribute? And it all comes down to service. We're all helping each other here. So if you think that you're valuable in the world, and let me tell you, you are. You already are valuable in the world, because the fact that you're alive, it tells that you are valuable in the world. How can you personally, individually contribute? And I think that's super, super important. Any last things that you would like to share, Elis?
I would say that a very important part of your business is recharge. Like, I want to leave to that, because one thing is like, we already talked about like all these things you can do, the way you can manage, and you know, that side of your focus, of your energy. But it's also part, like for me right now, we're closing this live and I'm going straight to get my baby, you know? And that's a way I recharge myself, like watching a TV show with my husband, or going out to eat with them, or visiting my mom, I don't know, like, or just taking a walk by myself. Like that's part of it. And always keep learning. Like every new skill that you get, sometimes it's like, how can I fit this with my business? There's always a way. Like any skill you get and any skill you have, contribute to whatever you can do. It's crazy, because the other day I got an ad that it was English classes, but for doctors. So the class was focused on teaching English, but actually with all the scientific terms. I was like, what? Yeah. Like I would have never thought about that, you know? And that's a doctor that said like, I love the language, I want to teach it, but I want to keep being a doctor, you know? I want to keep doing this, you know? That's like a mix that I would have never imagined, but like everything's possible, you know? Like, let's say you right now are creating all these mentorships and all of that. What if in a certain point you decide to make like an on-site like encounter, and you start with a yoga session to like relax and connect with the other people?
Bring
you know,
people
like
in,
yeah, like and that's gonna add to the experience, because people's gonna say like, oh, I did not only go to a mastermind kind of event. We started with yoga and meditation that helped us to connect ourselves. So yeah, every skill matters. So keep learning and make sure to always recharge yourself.
Awesome. So keep learning, recharge. Love this. I don't know if you have maybe 5 more minutes for questions.
In the meantime, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
And now that you're built your brand, which you have, right? It has been transforming too, you know, you are also an artist, yoga, and now you're doing all these mentorships and more focused on businesses. What advice would you give to your own version of yourself that was started?
I would say to trust, even though there's no evidence behind it. I've done so much, and in the past I was doing so much, but at the same time I wasn't trusting myself. I was thinking that I wasn't enough, and sometimes I still think that I'm not enough. Just the amount of belief has shifted. If you celebrate your wins every single day, you'll see how much you are achieving and how much you can still achieve. So I know I'm trying, I know I'm putting the work, showing up every day. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of really being aware of how much you're doing for yourself and for the world. So that would be like the advice.
Yeah, 100%. If there's no evidence, create the evidence, you know?
Create the evidence, exactly. And try. Just keep on trying, because eventually you'll find something that works for you.
100%.
And yeah, everything is a test. These conversations are tests. We're launching. We have technical issues, but it doesn't matter. We're showing up, and that's what's really important.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you just said. It's not only showing up for the people, it's also showing up for yourself, because you build that trust in yourself when you make your own promises come true, right? It would have been easy for us to say oh, there's an audio problem and we're gonna reschedule. No, we're here, right? So, and that happens with everything. If you say, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and exercise first time in the morning, and you wake up the next day and you don't, you little by little, you are making your own trust go down, and
Exactly.
That affects your business, your relationships, everything. So one of the most important things is doing what you said you were gonna do.
Simple as that. How do you recommend to deal with mistakes from your work team? Because we're humans, we make mistakes.
100%.
How do you work through that?
You have to make sure your team knows exactly what they have to do and the way they have to do it. You have to teach them. You cannot hire someone and just be like, oh yeah, do your stuff and just let me know, right? You have to be there through the process in the first weeks or the first month to make sure that person is doing what they have to do, right? Because one person cannot know your company values and all that stuff if you don't teach them. And for example, part of my company values on every single company is the service, right? So I gotta teach them how to provide a good service, right? For example, we don't get too many in my different companies. We don't get too many mistakes or problems because everyone knows what they have to do. But for example, if let's say in the courier company, if I ask them to fly a package from a customer and I don't know, they forgot, they didn't see the message, they did the order or whatever, first thing I have to do is first make sure that if we can fly that. Part of it is also you being aware of what you have to be aware of, right? But if I also didn't notice, which that makes myself, right, be super honest to the customer, hey, sorry, we couldn't fly your package, but don't worry because in the next flight your package is gonna come. Which and we haven't had problems with that, but I'm gonna give an example saying if we did, but most of the times there's no problem because they just have to wait 3 more days, to get their package. Most of the times it's not a big. But let's say there's a customer that has a problem with it, which they would be on the right. Maybe I can do free delivery to their house, and I will pay, I don't know, the $3 or $5 that the delivery person charges, right? I'm sorry for this problem. We're gonna make it up to you, so don't worry, you don't have to pick it up in our office. We're gonna send it to our house charge free. That's just an example, right? If there's nothing else you can do, try to make sure that the client is happy, that's the important thing. Make sure that your client's happy and they're gonna come back to you. So mistakes can happen. Some mistakes are bigger than the other one, but let's say the mistake was in the just on the hands of a person on my team, right? I to also like ask them like, okay, how can we solve this? Like, what can you think to solve this problem? And like make like a small brainstorming, like, okay, what is the best way, you know? In that way, my team is gonna, the fact that they have to solve the problem or think a solution is gonna make them be more aware for the next time, you know, because now like they don't have to be on survival mode, right? Like, oh, I messed up, I have to do something to make it up for it, right? It like that's gonna build up to their experience, and the next time that's not gonna happen. And if it does happen, like sit down with your team and ask like, what's going on? Like, we just went through this, please be aware, and like, you know, I trust you, that's why I hire. When you create these mistakes that are not one time or not on your learning time, that like decreases the amount of trust that I have with you, right? Exactly. So what's going on?
From what you said, it's managing expectations. So first, your workers, the people, the collaborators that work with you, don't read your mind. They will never work the same way as you do. So you have to show them exactly how you want the work to be done, what it means to have a good work done, and have a learning phase. After that, have the expectations of, okay, if this doesn't happen, be accountable, make them be accountable. How can they find the solutions? How can they be responsible for it and make sure it doesn't happen? And if those two things aren't happening, is having that tough conversation of saying, look, the trust is in danger right now. Like, what can we do to solve this? Sometimes it's because they don't know, or they're not motivated, or they're going through something that might not even know. But having that communication is super important.
Yes, definitely. And especially, I think that is very important, like what you just said, like keep your team motivated, like make sure that they're happy with the job they are in, you know, because that, like, people not being happy at your company, that's not gonna be good for you. You know, like I remember once I had a job at an agency, you know, as I told you, I was freelancing in different agencies, and that's something I also took notes of that experience. So now that I have my own agency, I don't do that to other people. But basically, I remember that when I got into the agency, I had to do like under my responsibilities, there were 8 clients. I had a part-time job. Okay, so in 4 hours, I had to do all my tasks, right? And within a month, there were almost 15 clients now under my responsibilities, double the amount of responsibilities. And of course, as I had to make it happen in 4 hours, I started not double check every single thing. So of course, there would be some mistakes. And my boss at that time would tell me, like, you're creating a mistake, like, this is your mistake, like, check on this, like that. And she was like, I'm super worried, like, I don't know what's happening to your
performance.
Yeah, your performance. And I'm like, I'm burnt out, and I'm trying to do as much as I can for hours, even though the workload doubled from when I started, and you haven't increased $1 to my salary. You need me to do this in 4 hours, but it's double the thing than what I can handle. A month after, I got a job offer that like multiplied my salary 4 times. And of course, I took that job, you know? And part of like having a good company is having a loyal team. And of course, I was not feeling appreciated, so I didn't appreciate that job back, you know? So I'm like, I'm getting like 4 times what they are paid, and now I just have to manage 1 account. Of course I'm gonna do it. I have a kid. And it's because, and you know, like, if they kept me like in a way of like, look, okay, let's manage this, I'm gonna hire you full time. Oh, now you have not 8 clients, you have 10. Can you work 1 more hour and I'm gonna like raise your salary this amount? Oh, now you have 12. Do you wanna work 2 more hours and stuff like that? Probably I would have stayed, you know, if I felt appreciated. If I didn't feel like, hey, good news, you have like double your responsibilities now, and manage to do it like by yourself, you know. Exactly. So part of creating companies is also creating jobs where you have employees that stay because they first believe in your company, they enjoy what they're doing, and they feel appreciated.
Powerful conversation. Elis, thank you so much. We've covered a lot today. I'm going to send the recording. I'm going to leave the recording here, but I'm also going to put it on YouTube with the things cropped out. Yeah, amazing. We're going to have the part 2. Guys, again, please check out Elis' profile for the Dream Planner anything, if you want coaching one-on-one, or if you want the services for your agency. So love that. Thank you so much, Elis, for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation, and let's meet soon again.
For sure. Thank you for having me. I've had so much fun. I love to talk about these things. You know, I'm super passionate about it, and thank you for creating this space. I also want to invite everyone to check on your profile with all the new things that you're launching, services. You have a lot of experience that people could rely on and learn from, because I think that's one of the most important things with us that could be like coaches or mentors. It's like we have been building up a lot of experience and a lot of mistakes, you know?
Yes.
Like we've been like making crazy mistakes in the past, and we will continue to do them, you know? That's the most important. I think if there were no mistakes, there's no learning either, you know? And also mistakes and failure, if you want to failure like a bad thing, is actually an opportunity to make things different. So if something's not working, change the strategy, you know?
And again, I would say there are no mistakes. There are just learning lessons.
Exactly.
This is another learning lesson. Thank you so much. We'll have part 2 for relationship, better connection, better audio. Thank you so much. And who knows, maybe a cool mastermind with all the people, okay?
I would love to.
Talk to you later, Eddie. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have fun with the baby.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. My pleasure.